go. Good morning and welcome to live guided tour in Turkey, in Istanbul. I'm Tammy. I'm the leader here at Single Life Today and Singles Travel International. And I'm here with about 10 of our members who were excited to see the iconic sites of Hagia Sophia and the Blue Mosque. Well, we have a little bit of a change in our agenda, and that is because there is 10 feet of snow in Istanbul right now. And so what we're going to end up doing this morning is we are going to hear from one of the most noted authorities on biblical history, on the culture, the history, the architecture of Turkey. His name is Mert, and he is here with us this morning. The roads are closed in Istanbul right now, and Mert lives in Kusadase, which is where Susie was on her tour. And so this is the look outside his window. So I'm gonna quickly turn over to him. So I wanna say that we will absolutely reschedule our live interactive tour, but today we are gonna be live and interactive. And Mert's gonna talk about some foundational information that is going to help us become better tourists when we arrive in Turkey, when we go next year, because we're going. We're also planning on visiting a couple of other countries nearby that Mert is an expert on. So today we're going to talk about some history, some culture, and the foundational information about Islam. So Mert, I'm going to give this over to you. And guys, you're in for a great, what I loved hearing today, and why I asked everybody, is that most of you are historians and you're interested in the history. And so I guarantee that before you finish today, this is Inspiration Week at Singles Travel International. And boy, have we learned a lot. And it ran the gamut. But today, I promise that you're going to learn some very interesting things about a magical place. And we will go there someday together, and we'll reschedule once it gets a little warmer in Istanbul. And I appreciate your patience today, but let's have some fun. This is all interactive, and please feel free to turn your mics on now. And you are welcome to ask Mert all the questions that are building up inside of you. You don't have to wait till the end. So let's have a great time. Happy Valentine's, everybody. I love you all. Let's have a good time.
Happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
Happy Valentine's too. First of all, Tammy, I both live in Istanbul and Kuşadası, and I'm currently right now in Istanbul, Midwest United States, because the weather is like a Midwest. Nobody expected snow. Folks, just 4 days ago, the temperature in Istanbul is 70, 72. We were just like a basic sweaters, shorts. I was rowing in Golden Horn. I restarted rowing for the master races, and weather was phenomenal. But just we get a really bad weather right from Balkans. Last 2 days were around the 40, 45. Today is 24, 23, at least 3.5 feet snow. And it's a kind of unexpected snow, and we're not professional snowers like people from Chicago or Wisconsin or Minnesota. And oh my gosh, already over 100 of traffic accidents. And also today, there's a kind of curfew. We tour guides are an exception, but in Turkey, because of COVID, every Saturday and Sunday, there's an official curfew. People are not allowed to go outside. People have to get stuck in their house, except people work in the health industry, people work in the travel industry, and security forces. But although the fact that I am able to go out, I couldn't walk more than 200 yards. It's all snow. Public transportation has just been broken, the whole metro subway system. And that's why we decided to change. By the way, very briefly, who am I? I've been working as a tour guide in the last 24 years. This is my 25th season. Apart from Singles Travel International with Tammy almost for 11 years, I have been working for Rick Steves almost for 15 years. I'm also the official, one of the few guides of the Smithsonian's Foundation in Turkey, but mostly Rick Steves and then with Smithsonian's. And when she brings, Tammy is my favorite person. We have a long history together as a friend, as a business partner, and I take care of her groups in Turkey and any kind of neighboring countries as well. I'm a single father. I have a 6.5 years old great boy behind me. His name is Yamandu, and I studied history and archaeology. And today I want to do something different because I want to give you a little bit basic 101 information about Islam, but I have to clarify one important fact. I'm not Muslim. Check my nose from profile. You can easily see that my mom's family, they're all Sephardic Jews. My dad's family, they are originated from Crete. And none of them, one part family is Greek Orthodox, one family is Jewish. That's why I was brought up with the two families. But I'm a just God believer. But I was brought up in a country where predominantly are Muslim. But Turkey is always a little bit different than the rest of the Muslim countries. Number one, constitutionally, we are secular. Second thing, in Islam is always preach in Turkish language, not in one of the difficult form of Arabic, which makes a lot of things different. And that's why it's a Muslim country where drinking is a big daily habit. We Turks, we always say, what's the difference between the Turkish wedding and Turkish funeral? One less drunk. It's a common saying. And it's just like a part of our culture. Almost 60% of the Turkish women, they don't cover themselves. But even the conservative Turkish ladies, when they cover their head, they don't cover with those black veils or other things. They usually use Newman Marcus or Hiram Nicholson style, all this colorful, glamorous scarves all around. And they mostly cover this part of their head, but the rest of the whole face and hair is fully either nip tucked or fully makeup. And Islam is different style experience than what you watch in CNN or CNBC or in Fox TV. That's why I want to give you a little bit some basics about that religion, which I'm not even the part of it, but I know the culture quite well. And that will also be also soft introduction to Turkey as well, because at the end, especially, I want to talk about a little bit what's going on in the modern Muslim countries and modern Islam, which is not like an ancient Islam. So I will give a lot of examples from modern version of Islam as well in Turkey. I'm going to keep it roughly an hour and 15 minutes, but I will like to take your questions. I'm a question love type of guide, and I like to be asked a lot of questions, which keeps me always happy as well. So that's why I have a lot of visuals for you. But generally, if you look at the Holy Book of the Muslim people in Noble Quran, they have a definition of the religions. And according to Quran, which Muslims believe that this is the final message of God, there are no other lots of different religions exist. The God provided the people always a one religion, but he provided lots of different prophets and lots of different books. But people always needed to hear some more different versions, and that's why those names will change later as well. That's a kind of belief in Quran and Islam. But if you're looking for exact full definition, Islam, it's a big culture of itself, and it's one of the major three faiths in the modern world, Abrahamic faiths. And in Arabic, it means literally submission to order of God and his messenger, with the three important emotions, the love, hope, and fear. They have to be together. But to understand the moral of the Islamic world, there are roughly 1.8 billions of Muslims in all around the world, almost a quarter of the whole world's population. And there's a misconception in the Western world that Muslims mostly live in the Middle East. Objection. Almost 40% of the Middle East countries are Christian, Arab Christians, Armenian Christians, but only 18% of the Muslims, they live in the Arab world. 20% in Africa, especially Central and Eastern Africa, 30% in South Asian region, Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, and all these countries as well. And when you look at the most populous Muslim countries, Arab countries, there are only 2 Arab countries, and those countries are not in Middle East. These are in North Africa. Turkey is number 5. The most crowded one is Indonesia, and Indonesia is also not an administration-wise Islamic country. It's a republic, secular republic as well, like Turkey. But most of the population distributed in a central part of the old ancient world, the Asia Minor, which is Turkey, and Middle East, and the North Africa. This is the distribution you can see. You can hear a lot of terms. Sometimes those terms are confusing, but very basically, number 1 is Allah, which means the God. And it comes from the word El, which is in Hebrew, the name of the God as well. Hebrew and Arabic looks like a Danish versus Swedish. They're kind of like a same background. Almost thousands of words are same. And the word of Allah extracted from El. And a Muslim is a person who submits to Allah. That's the exact name. Name of the religion is Islam. The member of the Islam are Muslims. That's how we define. They're not 2 different sects or the groups in here. And Quran is the holy book of the Muslim people. Actually, holy book of the universe. It's accepted by Muslims. Words of Allah, and gives you the guidance for all the life of the people. Muhammad, his last prophet of the God, and Hadith are the sayings or acts of the Prophet Muhammad, which are the major source of the Islam. And as a source of Islam, Quran is number 1, life of Prophet Muhammad number 2, and Sunnah. The examples of the lives of Muhammad are the major indications. There are 7 fundamental beliefs in Islam, and these are the similarities. I did my master, by the way, about early Christianity, because Turkey is a very important biblical site for early Christian groups. And every year I do a lot of Lutheran and Methodist groups from Washington area, mainly the Lutheran churches. And I see a lot of similarities. And one of them is belief in God, Allah, belief in angels, belief in scriptures. But when I say scriptures, it's not only Quran. Both Old Testament and New Testaments are accepted by Muslims as the holy books, and believe in the messengers of Allah, which are starting from Prophet Adam, Noah, Abraham, or the 4 fathers of the Judaism, Moses and David, Solomon, Jesus, of course. There's a big belief of Jesus in Islam, and Muhammad as last. Resurrection after that, which is important, Day of Judgment, and predestination, which is called Qadar in Arabic language and in Turkish language itself. How's it going so far? I hope everything is fine. In Islam, folks, family, I like to call you as family. This is what we do always in singles groups. We strongly believe that there are 5 pillars. Those pillars keeping all the faith and the submission. Number 1 is faith. Number 2 is praying 5 times a day. Number 3 is fasting in a special month called Ramadan. Number 4 is almsgiving. And number 5 are going to Mecca for pilgrimage called Hajj. Muslim people, they have to follow these 5 duties. And if they can't financially afford, they have to perform them regularly, except the pilgrimage, which is you have to do it only once in a lifetime. Creed, the faith, is very simple. Folks, in Islam, there's no sacraments, no bar mitzvah, which my bar mitzvah was quite fun. I and never forget, or no kind of baptism. If you say those words, there's no God except Allah, and the Muhammad is his final messenger, welcome to club. You become very easily Muslim. But if you want to be a proper Muslim full time, you have to do a couple of important things. And one of the most important one is praying 5 times a day. Early morning, noon, mid-afternoon, early evening, and early night. You have to pray 5 times a day. And before each pray, you have to make a ritual cleansing, which people call this ablution. You have to wash your hands, arms, face, part of your head, neck, ears, and your feet 5 times a day regularly. That's an important thing. And when you pray, you have to face to Mecca, which is the holy city of the Muslim people. But everybody's supposed to pray 5 times a day, but 3 groups of people, they don't have to. Number one, pregnant women. They don't have to pray 5 times a day. They're technically don't have the mobility to bend forward, to sit at the top of their knees and put their head to forehead. Number two, elder people who are not physically fit are not allowed to do that. And number three is students. Because in Quran it says, you better learn more. Because when you learn more, you discover the Lord, God, much easier. That's what it suggested to kids. Fasting. This is a critical one because every year there's a month called Ramadan. In a lunar calendar, it takes 29 days, and Muslims during the Ramadan, from sunrise till sunset, they're not allowed to eat, drink, smoke, and having sexual relations. But from after the breaking the fasting till the sunrise, you're free to do all of them as well. It's a kind of like understand the absence of the things which God has given to you. I don't want to say kind of a hermetic life, but they want you to a little bit experience the aesthetic life of the believers, and that's why. And Ramadan is something even the non-Muslims in Turkey, they follow up, Jews and Christians, because they don't want to hurt the other people who are depriving from the food and the drinks. Restaurants are not closed in Turkey, like in Saudi Arabia or some Middle Eastern countries. Restaurants still serve, but they close their windows with the curtains. So people on the outside, they don't see, and people on the inside, because not everybody in the same physical condition. Today, we have a lot of diabetics. People have heart disease. People have kind of like a gluten intolerance. So people supposed to eat regularly. That's why nobody has to follow. But if you do that, others respect you. That's a kind of important month. But one of the most important.
Can I ask you a question about the Ramadan? As a
Yes,
teacher, I was teaching 5th grade, which is 10-year-olds.
Sandy,
And
yeah.
And I was very surprised that the 10-year-old children were encouraged not to eat. What age do they begin children following this no eating? I mean, it was really difficult for some of these children. And I as a teacher, I mean, I kept them in my classroom so that they didn't have to go to lunchroom, but I could see where some of them, it was a problem.
Yeah, it's a
What
problem.
age?
Sandy, it's an amazing question. In my country, in Turkey, there's no it's not compulsory, first of all. But if you want to start to follow the praying and observing the fasting, 14 for the girls, 14 for the boys, 13 for the girls is the age to start the regular practice for the conservative Muslim countries. But in Turkey, schools really observe the kids and they kind of make a soft pressure to the parents. They want the kids to eat. In that sense, in that case, we don't sound very democratic, but teachers always write and their words are kind of rule in my country. So like a kind of families, they never force their kids to observing the fasting. But of course, if you live in Saudi Arabia or in United Emirates, the conditions are much different. So as like in Christianity, like everybody make their own interpretations and adapt their rules in here. But thanks, Lord, in Turkey, we have a sensible community and we have a secular administration, which I will later on mention. Thank you, Sandy, for this question. Fourth pillar, which is probably the only thing it's really touched my heart, is almsgiving. It's called zakat. Same word in Hebrew in Judaism as well. And each year, like in Judaism, that's also important, same concept. Muslims who could afford, they're supposed to give 2.5% of their savings to the poor people, but with certain conditions. What's that? For example, if Mark is going to give his alms to Tammy, he shouldn't tell that Tammy that he's going to give his alms. It has to be anonymous. And he shouldn't even tell his best friend Sally that, hey, I'm giving my alms to Tammy. It has to be anonymous between you and God. In the old days, how those people were doing, they were just knocking the door, leaving the money back, and just walking and mixing to the crowd in a hustle bustle of the day. But today, we have better financial instruments, thanks God. We get a federal bank checks, no name, nothing, no signature. You just pay money, receive the federal bank check, put in an envelope, put it there, post box. This is the practical way. Turkey, guys, in terms of financial instruments, we're the most advanced country in Europe with Germany. All the ATMs in Europe are from Turkey. We produce them. We're the kind of technological centers, and all the SWIFT, international money banking network of Europe, is controlled from Istanbul, Turkey as well. So we're really good with that kind of financial place. And now the last thing, Hajj, pilgrimage. It's a beautiful building called Kaaba in Mecca, which according to both Judaism and Islam, it is believed that it was built by Prophet Abraham and his second son, Ishmael, and Muslims believe that it's the center of the world. And that's why all Muslims, when they face to pray, they always face to Mecca, not to the east, always Mecca. If they could not find the location of Mecca, which is the second holy city for Muslim people, Jerusalem. That's why Jerusalem is a kind of conflict subject always, and they had supposed to face through the Masjid Akka, the building with the golden dome. You can remember in a view of the Jerusalem over there, which is in the location of the great Temple of Solomon. So Muslims and Jews, which I know the two religion, 80% are same, and they always accept the same places as holy shrine and location for themselves. If you cannot find the location of Mecca or Jerusalem, your third option is face through the east. So which means if you're in Chicago, your direction is almost 35% southeast. If you're in Istanbul, it's 15% southeast, but always has to be Mecca as well. So now it's interesting thing, and which is my personal interest subject, how Muslims view the other religions. And there's a kind of huge, people, Christians and Jews always called us the people of the book. And according to like an other interesting thing, there was no names of Christianity or the Judaism. God always created one religion and sent to the people, but names were changed as well. And that's why Torah and all the New Testament also accepted as the holy words and the signs of God. So that's why there has to be respect. You don't have to believe all the rituals, but you have to respect, and you have to, now this is the critical part, you have to show the respect the people of the book. And like a same in Judaism, as long as you accept all the teachings of the Noah, which are the 7 teachings of Noah, don't kill, be respectful to the other people, don't steal, and like for kind of all the 7 words, 7 rules, you are accepted to heaven for the Christians and Jews as well. And If you go a little bit more, we can say a little bit facts about the Holy Quran, which is for Muslim people, basically the guidance. And Quran in Arabic means basically recitation. And Muslim people, they believe that these are all the words of God. And there are people called Hafiz. These are the people who learned all the lines of Quran and they know it and they read it by heart. And in order to read it and even to touch it, Muslim people has to be clear. And that's why they have to make this purification, which we called ablution, like a praying conditions too. And Quran is the basically the holy book for Muslims. It's written in Arabic because its revelation started in Arabic Peninsula as well. And Muslims, their major strong belief is that no part of the Quran was changed or rewritten. It always kept the purity, which I personally object a lot because we know the historical fact that Quran was put in a script 14 years after the death of Prophet Muhammad. And the good news today, hundreds of young modern Islamic scholars accept this fact and they restart the reinterpretation of the Quran, which is a positive thing for, by the way, for the future as well. And revelation of Quran took almost 23 years, and always God directly talked to Prophet Muhammad via Archangel Gabriel. That was the one of the interesting facts. So what's it all about? It's basically looks like an book of Revelation or the Acts of Apostles. You can always find the same golden morality rules, laws, food, marriage, punishment, divorce, which is quite interesting. And in the real Islamic divorce supports the woman a lot, fasting, trade, and the trade rules for that kind of major subjects, they always talk about. And now that's the interesting part. Who were mentioned? Nearly all the prophets we know, from Abraham, Adam, Noah, and Ishmael, and of course Isaac, Jacob, Joseph, which are the major Jewish prophets, and Moses, Aaron. Harun is like a well-respected, same as Elijah, David, Solomon. But you know who's so important? There's one person so important, and she's not even a prophet, Mother Mary. Guys, my specialty, as I told you, is the early Christianity, and I studied 4 Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And in the 4 books, in the 4 official canonical Gospels, Mother Mary was only mentioned in 19 times, and 11 of them were in the Gospel of John. But in the Quran, there is a one dedicated chapter to Mother Mary, and it was mentioned as she is the holiest of the all mothers. She didn't deliver the Son of a God, which is the Islamic view, but she delivered the biggest miracle of the gods. Can you see actually they're saying the same thing. One says, he is the God, Son of the God. The other one says, he is the biggest miracle of the gods. Actually, the message is same, but we never want to understand. And her name is in that chapter 36 times, which is quite interesting. And of course, who makes Islam? And revealed it and passed the message of the God to people, the Prophet Muhammad, in the 7th century AD, in the land of modern Saudi Arabia. Mecca and Medina are the 2 major places. He was born in the late 6th century AD in Mecca, and Mecca is a very tribal, and is also a place where it's a little bit rough. Politism exists in any part of the Mecca. The building of the Abraham, the holy building Kaaba, was used for the pagan gods. And Muhammad, he became a kind of a merchant, and he was so respected by the all community members because of his trustworthiness. He's an amazing person in that case. But he was a little bit different than the others. He was not spending his time with the wine and the woman, so he cannot be my friend in that case, but he spent as much of time as in meditation on the mountains. And In the age of 40, during one of the meditations, he received the revelation via Archangel Gabriel. And Archangel Gabriel and told him and said, write the words. And he said, just read, read. In the name of God, read. Read and learn. Learn and think. Think and evaluate and judge. But before judging anything, read again. And Mohammed says, oh, I can't read. I don't know how to write and read. And he just says, in the name of the God, read. And he started to read after that. This is how the Quran started to reveal. And this revelation took 23 years in that small cave nearby the city of Mecca. And if you look at the core of Islam, like and the words of Muhammad, he was basically saying the things which never fit the life of the very patriarchal Mecca people. He was just saying that take care of your slaves, like St. Paul, who was from Turkey, by the way. And he started to say to people, treat your woman nicely and just don't abuse them. And oh my gosh, these are kind of like a little bit shaky messages, but he really attracted a lot of people. And he really attracted a lot of working class people and slave people as well. And he started to get a lot of threats. That's why he immigrated to Medina, where all the town accepts his beliefs and showed a lot of respects. And this prestige continued a lot. And after several battles, he conquered the whole of Mecca. And in the age of like 62, he passed away. But after his passed away, Islam started to grow and jump through the Africa and through the Eastern Asia, and then became one of the the largest belief system in the world. Bosworth Smith is a well-known minister and also historian. He talked about the Prophet Muhammad as he is a head of the state as well as head of the church, like he was a Caesar and Pope at the same time for the people of the Middle Eastern area as well. That's an interesting interpretation about Prophet Muhammad. But after him, what happened? Basically, his successors, both Abbasis and Umayyads, they took the control of whole Northern Africa, including Spain, and through the territory of Iran and the lens of the modern Turkey, which we called Asia Minor, and they created one of the largest empire. And this is a time where Persians on the east and Byzantines, which are based in Istanbul on the west, they were extremely weak. And during that time, Baghdad and also Damascus became the center of learning and innovation. Cairo and Cordoba become the important art centers. Arabic became a kind of language of science. And one of the major reasons for that family is all the books, the ancient Greek books in the Alexandria library. Unlike the famous gossip tells that the library was burned, no, all the books were taken and translated to Arabic language. So with that way, Arabic became the language of the science. Today, if we have the Renaissance, the main reason is all these Arabic books were translated by Byzantine linguistic specialists to the Greek, and they were taken to Florence and Venice, Genoa and Milano, and that's how the Renaissance restarted with discovering the ancient knowledge as well. And also these guys were controlling the Silk Road, which is the most important supply chain of the world. It was under the control of whole Muslim empire. And can you imagine the wealth channeling through the Damascus, the Baghdad, and that created a lot of scholar improvements in science, in literacy, and all the information coming from that. And there was a one guy behind it, the legendary caliphs of the Muslims, who was the guy for his name, the 1001 Nights stories were created, the famous legendary guy, Harun Rashid. And during that time, the Muslim scientists, they started to make cataract operations al-Razi. He was known as, even today, the doctors of the doctors. He was the guy making a lot of surgeries about the eye problems and observe so also for the vein problems. Ibn al-Haim, he is the father of the optics. He was using the glasses, and he is the one of the first guys who invented binoculars, showing the images in a far distance in a much larger shape. Of course, if you are a father of math, if you are interested in math and calculus, algebra is the major thing. And Khwarizmi, he was the guy who introduced the number today we call as zero, as a contribution of Arabs as well. And again, Al-Zafri is the famous surgeon, lived in Spain. And I'm sure all of you heard about Avicenna, a true polymath and psychologist, pharmacologist, geologist. He is the man of everything and a famous Islamic scholar, theologian, and poet as well. That was a really big golden age, start from 8th century AD till the roughly 16th century AD for 800 years. But there was a small break in that time, which is a time of crusaders. It's really the rich in the east attract the west. And during that time, plague, lots of vessels, small princedoms in a different part of the Europe, they're really abusing the local people. And with the order of the papacy in Vatican, the Crusaders took place, and it took basically 200 years. Were they successful? Unfortunately, no. But the results are shake all the dynamics in Europe. Why? Because monarchs became extremely powerful. But the knights who came to Middle East, they learned a lot about of trading, a lot of foods, and they become basic innovators rather than the fighters. And one of the basic lost for the Muslims in that time, they lost their lands in Spain during the time called Reconquista period. But again, the Muslims, they captured leadership during the time of Ottoman Empire. Between the 14th and the 17th centuries, Ottomans, they were basically the superpower of the world, like modern United States of America. And during that time, they not only controlled the whole Mediterranean Sea, but basically controlled all the traffic in Europe and through the Africa as well. And that's why it was the second golden age for the Muslim people. But what happened later on? There are so many things like in Islam lost its power, Islam lost its influence because of the one basic thing, lack of education. So how come the brightest empires coming in that period get lost in that dark age? Very simple. In the 15th century, in Islam, there's a well-known scholar called Imam Ghazali. He said that God ordered everything in the Quran. So it's the only book, and we have to follow the Quran word by word. That was it. And when it became a major indication to Muslim people, all technological innovations, all scientific works, all industrial efforts, we lost them, and Muslim societies, they lost them as well. And also, it became extremely big in the 19th century, and especially Ottoman Empire lost the power. So many small clergies, they become the major rulers. By the way, I have to clarify one important fact. I saw the dark phase of the Islam when I served in Afghanistan. I did my military service in Turkey. There's a compulsory military service. So I was a Marine officer, and I was not in the NATO. I was in the coalition forces. So I was directly sent to Kandahar, and I lived 1 year in Kandahar, Afghanistan, served with the American Marines over there. If there's a former Marine, Semper Fi. And so, again, it was an important experience for me to see the one phase of Islam which I never ever seen in my country, modern Turkey, which is a sect called today Wahhabism. It's an extreme, the part of the Islam which is today official sect in Saudi Arabia. And those people are kind of like a little bit heretical belief. They say that they're the chosen people of the world. They are the ones who are supposed to worship the gods, and all the rest of the Muslims, they're supposed to work and serve for them. Oh, Jews and Christians, they were misinformed people. They could be well accepted after a certain amount of sacrifice. They're supposed to do that for the Wahhabi people. And today, the concept that we observe in the world as Islamic terrorism is not related with Shia or Sunni Islam. Yeah, there are some Shia organizations, but their base is not the religion. Their all is subject is political. But Al Qaeda, ISIS, Taliban, they were all coming from basically this Wahhabi background. And also the other thing, which happened in my country a lot, hyper-elitism turned the many Muslims inward. And so conservative people, they become very introverted society as well, which is the major problem we are dealing right now in Turkey, try to increase the lifestyle of those people through the middle class so they can join and get the benefits of secular life as well. And also there's a political movement in late 60s and early 70s, and many of you were familiar with that, the concept called creating a green zone against the communism. During that time, there were a lot of supports giving to certain fundamentalist groups. Like my uncle involved with that. He was the head of the Turkish Special Forces, and he worked with the famous American senator, Charlie Wilson. Have you ever heard about this, folks? Charlie Wilson? He's the guy who started all the mujahids, and my uncle, he was over there and training all the mujahids against the Russians. And later on, guess what happened? 30 years later, his cousin, me, I fought against the people which we trained. It's unfortunately a boomerang theory. It worked in some way, but we receive it back, unfortunately. How's it going, by the way?
Yeah, that's interesting. Mert, but what did you say you guys trained? What did you call those people that you were training?
Mujahideens.
Oh, the Mujahideens.
And Turkish Special Forces, American unofficial forces, you guys call them today CIA, and we all work very hard to train these people. We weaponize them, we support them. We did a lot, but like, and guess what happened? And plus, we still support Saudi Arabia a lot. Like even in Turkey, we do a lot of projects, but these are always behind these are Wahhabis, and they don't try to at least stop those fundamentalist groups, including in Africa, Boko Haram, which is one of the Wahhabi organizations as well. But this is more political phase of it.
Thank you.
By the way, I want to show you where Muslim stands in the world. This is quite critical. If you look at the veto power holder countries in United Nations, none of them are Muslim. Turkey used to be the temporary member twice because we are militarily the most strongest Muslim country, and we're the second major ally of the United States and NATO after Britain. If you look at the 10 countries, top countries with the highest GDP, and Turkey comes 16th in the whole list. We're the member of the top 20 largest, the financially strongest country in the world, but we are the only one, Turkey. The rest of the countries, they have much less GDP, although they supply almost 50% of the world oil sources. If you look at the life standards, even guys, like look at the countries. Do you see any predominantly Muslim countries on this list? No. Many Muslim countries, people, few in Turkey, but a lot in the rest of the world, they want to come and live in those countries because of the better lifestyles. But they say that, oh, we want to keep our religions as well. What's the source of this results? For me, and a person who lives in a country where most of the people are Muslim, my major observation for that is the illiteracy. Guys, I'm so proud in my country, literacy rate is 96%, higher than Spain, higher than Italy, and in the same level with France. But look at some countries like in Afghanistan, it's 28%. Now, today is around the 32, 33%. In Pakistan is around the 60%. Iran today is getting 84, 85%. In Palestine, it's less than 30%. Same in Syria. And that's why, yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just, when you were showing before where Turkey stands in the world, I was wondering where the discussion stands right now about Turkey joining the European Union, because I remember 10 years ago they were talking about admitting Turkey as the first Muslim country in the EU, and I think that's still being talked about at all.
First of all, how Turkey becomes a little bit separated than the rest of the mainstream Muslims. Number one, in 1923, founding father of modern Turkey, Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, he brought a kind of heavy secularization. He had to do it a little bit in a harsh way because you had to change the whole the balances and structure of a brand new country. He brought some really strict secularization. These are a little bit like I want to call hyper secularization, but it worked. And still, like in today, although we have a right-wing party in the power almost for 20 years, which is Erdogan and his team, Erdogan still didn't do anything to change the country to the Islamic shift because he knows that who are the best taxpayers? Secular people. Who are the people leading the economy? Secular people. Who are the people make a lot of contribution in technological innovations and everything? Secular people. And who are keeping the great relations with the EU countries for the whole process of full membership facilities, as you mentioned, again, secular people, West Wing people, or let's say more better educated people. And that makes a lot of difference. And related with what I was saying, and thank you for that. It was a great question. And family in like a Turkey, education makes a lot of difference. And that's why people know what it's written and people choose their own way and nobody interferes in the other's lifestyle. And that's why you can see in a Taksim Square, which is favorite street of Tammy, we like to stroll in this beautiful street in Istanbul with the buildings from all 18th century. And when you see that, you can see the two girls holding their hands. One is open hair, miniskirt, fully makeup. The other one, she get a scarf, but they were holding their hands or they were just like an arm to arm, just strolling in the street. And also like a little bit related with that, Turkey is the probably one of the few Muslim countries or even one of the few countries in the world which LGBTs are freely living. And when I heard that, like being a gay or lesbian was a federal crime in the United States till 1979 and in Canada till the 60s, I was hammered and shocked where in my country people can easily leave. Oh, if you go to Iran, there's a capital punishment for that. So can you see the differences in the same neighborhood, in the same geography? One part is very liberal, one part is very harsh. Yeah, a little bit mullah regime is a different mentality, not the Iranian people, but the mullahs are different. But in my country, LGBTs are free to leave with no problem. And of course, this 9/11 and all the other things and the ISIS, they created and they triggered a lot of Islamophobia, but there are some misconceptions happen in Islamophobia as well. And there was a survey done by my university. My university in Istanbul is the oldest American university, which was established outside the boundaries of United States in 1863. It's called former Robert College. Today it's called Boğaziçi University. And in my university, with the survey in Canada, they say that 46% of the Canadians have unfavorable the view of Islam, and fewer than half can accept one of their children marry with the Muslims, and they all believe that nearly 60% believe that the Muslims always suppress the woman. And that's, after reading that, it put me in a situation. I want to share this cartoon with you. Small percent of radicals, they really kidnapped the whole concept of their religion. But the good news today, moderate Islamic networks in Turkey, in Egypt, in Iran, in Pakistan, and also they started to do it a little bit in the United States. They started to raise their voice, and they started to again ask thing. By the way, Sue, one final thing, still EU is very important for us. EU is so important for us because there are already 10 million Turks live in Germany, France, Holland, and Belgium. So we are part
Okay,
It
I have a
would-
question. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Sue.
of
it was great to see that happen at some point.
Thank you, Sue.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Yes, Robbie?
I was going to ask you because I know a lot of people that go over into Saudi and that area, and there are women. They do. They are against. I mean, they treat women like, I don't know, not equal. So if we go into that area, how do we keep from getting into trouble? That's
Okay.
one of the problems. I know Turkey is not like that, but in some of the other areas it is, my understanding.
Let me tell you in a different way. Probably the worst country in that case is Saudi Arabia, and they are the extreme version. Women were not allowed to drive the car. Now they let them do that. Oh my gosh, Tammy knows my ex-wife. She was also working as a guide for the Singles Travels International, Mine. And if I told her that, hey, sweetheart, you are not allowed to put your miniskirts on or don't drive the car, she could stab me, honestly. She's my ex-wife and still good friend. And
He would have
women
left and moved to Los Angeles, Mert.
yeah. And in Iran, guys, I've been in Iran 5 times, and I took a lot of Americans to Iran. By the way, when you go to Iran, you always find the red carpets on the floor. You feel yourself like a movie stars. And oh my gosh, as soon as they learn that you're from United States or Canada, people jump on you. People speak extremely good English, very well educated people. And at the end, they always say that, hey guys, we love you, but we don't like your government. And they also say, we don't like our government as well. And oh my gosh, you always enjoy. And if people are so friendly, oh, get ready. Both in Iran, we are very touchy-feeling people. In a Western culture, this is the social distance. In our culture, this is the social distance. But after COVID, we learn how to do that. And probably when COVID is over, we're going to return back to that distances again. Get ready. This is something about this part of the world. So in Iran, we're very strong.
All right,
Very-
so you're saying if we went to Saudi Arabia or Iran right now, I wouldn't have problems walking on the street.
You can walk on the streets in any countries, including Saudi Arabia. Only in Saudi Arabia and Iran, You have to cover your head.
Okay.
If you go to United Arab Emirates, if you go to Jordan, Lebanon, Egypt, Turkey, no, most of the local women, they never cover themselves as well. And you can rent a car, you can do the business. In Iran, women are high educated. Mostly they got master degrees. Many women they got PhDs. And the nuclear program of Iran is not run by a man, is actually run by a woman who got her PhD from MIT, by the way. That's
Okay,
another,
thank you.
yeah. So, guys, some misconceptions. I just like to talk about it. I hope you're enjoying. I don't want to make you like a bore. Yeah, we talk about this Islamic terrorists, but when you try to calculate about those people, their numbers, they're only 0.01% of the global Muslim populations. But for a long time, 99.9%, they never raised their voice. But this is the time in last 4 or 5 years, they've been raising their voice a lot against those militant groups. Other interesting thing, many North Americans, especially in my Rick Steves tours, when they come to Turkey, they always ask, when I talk about circumcision, because circumcision is common in both Judaism and Islam, they always look about secretly. Oh, we are so sorry about your woman because they have this genital mutilation. What? No, nothing happened like that in our culture. This is a very common Northeastern African tradition. Somalia, yeah, is a Muslim country, and women, 85% get circumcised, unfortunately. But it's also same thing in Eritrea, and same thing for Ethiopia. These are all predominantly Christian and Judeo-Christian countries, where in Ethiopia you can see the Afro-Jewish people, and these are the practice of the region, not
I
the.
heard that they have outlawed that in most of the areas now. They don't have that much anymore.
Thanks, Lord. I hope.
Yes.
I, I've been like in keeping contact with some Ethiopian Jewish communities. There's a big educational and promotions about stopping that very old, harsh tradition as well among the Jews in Ethiopia. Yeah. The same thing about this homosexuality, and many of those countries who have the punishment for the non-heterosexual sexuality, it comes from the colonial laws, which is adapted by Brits, which doesn't come from the core of the Islam. And when you look at the Britain, where this is a sodomy is a big crime till 1967, which is over 100 years after the Ottomans. It's like a kind of shocker thing, and these are more British colonial traditions. And in the five major countries, like in Turkey, Indonesia, Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, Niger is 50% Christian too. We never kind of like this kind of criminal probations about the homosexuality. Good news. Liberalism in Islam today is the most popular thing. First of all, people, when they get better educated, they have a huge awarenesses of the human rights. They are on rights to live like a human, free human. And then spiritualism is increasing, Sufism especially, and I'm sure many of you heard about the whirling dervishes and their legendary founder, Mevlana Jalaluddin Rumi, where Rumi poetry is getting extremely popular and teach people how to accept each other with their own weaknesses or own ways. This is increasing a lot. And when the education level of people increased, especially for women, feminism and political secularism increased as well, which created a lot of things. And today, one of the major things discussed in Muslim countries, reinterpretation of Quran. Everything changed. So Quran has to change and interpretations, and we have to adapt it through the modern world as well. And we have to understand the fact that we have to live with the others who doesn't have to dress up like us, who doesn't have to have eating habits like us. And among the Muslim people, even when I was in Afghanistan, within the 1 year, because I served 1 year over there, I saw the large differences for the lifestyle of people. And of course, today, nobody wants to see that harsh violence in between each other. Why the Turkey is a great example of liberal Islam? Because we make all these changes and in a right amount, and we really convince the people about changing their lifestyle and adapting through the standards of the Western world. It doesn't mean that you have to adapt your lifestyle, but you have to adapt the path of the Western world as well, which is still the number one path giving us to the Turkish people by founding father of modern Turkey, Atatürk. And for example, 20 years ago, Erdogan get into power. He's going to lose his seats probably in the next elections. He's losing a lot of popularity. But even Erdogan himself, who looks in the Western world as a soft dictator, he didn't change anything in terms of secular way, and he get always like a popular votes in the elections, and he believes the principles of free market economy. To be honest with you, when 2008, when the big global economical crisis happened, as you know, your government supported 8 big banks to stop like a bankruptcy. Guess what happened in Turkey? Turkey let all the big banks fail. That's why, like in London School of Economics in 2014, said that in 2008, the most capitalist attitudes shown by any countries in the world is the Turkey. Turkey was the most capitalist country in the world with not interfering the free economy in that time as well. Of course, these are all come from secular belief system, which is the core of the lifestyle in Turkey, which we believe. And as a related with that, which is an interesting cartoon from 1934, Turkish woman, ladies, this is for you, are the first woman in Europe after Great Britain who get the right to vote in both local and general elections, and also to be elected also in 1934, which is a very important thing. In Switzerland, ladies, they get this right in 1977. But in Turkey, 1934, which is so important for us, and we're proud. And I want to show you the woman. Part of some ladies, we have 600 membership parliaments, and we have 184 parliament members, lady parliament members. And I want to show some of their picture to you. Some of them exactly looks like your country, modern ladies, lots of nip tucks, a lot of all are well educated, but some of them, they cover their heads, but they're all treated equally. And thanks, Lord, in my country, I can see a covered woman who's a traffic police, who is a doctor, who is a F-16 war pilot, but at least they have equal rights with the men. And I want to share with something which is very special, because I have a lot of lady friends working in lots of big multinational companies as a marketing director or finance director or middle level managerial positions. They say that pay differences, in terms of pay differences, Turkey is much better than many EU countries and United States. Women are better paid in the same positions or equally paid with the men. That is something which I am proud about my woman in my country. And I want to, before passing to the Q&A sessions again, I want to tell the 7 advices of Rumi, who is actually the founding father of philosophical Islam, Sufism, and what he said in this eternal 7 advices. In generosity and helping the others, be like a river. In compassion and grace, be like sun. In concealing others' faults, be like night. In anger and fury, be like that. In modesty and humility, be like earth. In tolerance, be like an ocean. And my final one, either exist as you are, be, or be as you look. These are the wonderful advices of Rumi to you. Sorry, because of the bad weather, because of the bad Minnesota weather, Midwest weather in Istanbul, I couldn't take you to Hagia Sophia, but when the weather is okay, I promise you I will take it there and through the Blue Mosque and the Hippodrome area. But today, I want to talk a little bit about in Islam, just to give you a little bit idea. And from now on, please give me a hard time.
Merck, thank you so much. And we're going to go to some Q&A. I'm going to stop the recording though, so we can be open and honest. I want to generate some great conversation here with you guys today, and I want you to share. We're all good at that. So thanks for joining us today at Single Life Today, and we look forward to that live tour soon. Talk to you later.